Al Gore, a leader of sustainability.
Born in Washington, D.C., Gore graduated Harvard before serving in the Vietnam War and returning to serve in the U.S. Congress aged 28. Due to his impressive achievements in his early life and the fact that both his parents occupied positions of high authority in their professions, literature surrounding the great man theory would suggest that Gore was born to be a leader. This shows his masculinity, intelligence, and achievements respectively, factors all noted by the academics shown as innate qualities of major leadership traits. He became renowned for his determination following his failed presidency attempt before successfully being selected as vice president to Bill Clinton in 1992. Following his tenure as VP, where he was able to implement effective environmental programs like GLOBE and the Kyoto Protocol, he faced his greatest setback by losing the 2000 presidential election to George Bush. Critics name his idealistic views on sustainability as one of the potential flaws that contributed to his loss. Since leaving the White House, Gore transitioned from an assigned to emergent leadership, turning his back on traditional politics before evolving into a world leader at the forefront of sustainability activism. Today he is the chairman of the Climate Reality Project, a non-profit organization devoted to solving the climate crisis.
One of the core issues that Gore and the Climate Reality Project have faced in solving this crisis is the seemingly constant threat of public skepticism towards the existence of global warming. This was first evident on a grand scale following the release of An Inconvenient Truth. Despite the documentary's success, Gore faced unprecedented backlash on the accuracy of the science behind the film's premise, and many climate skeptics came out in force against the findings. Not only was this amongst the general public and regular citizens, but also from those occupying influential positions of power. In 2009, Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott brutally expressed his doubts on the science behind human-induced global warming, and more recently similar opinions have been regularly declared by Donald Trump. The president's cynicism towards climate change was realised in his damaging decision to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement, a revolutionary accord signed by all but 2 nations which promises to combat carbon emissions. Not only was this a hugely detrimental act for sustainability, but for Al Gore personally, exacerbating his mammoth challenge of united politicians on tackling the issues ahead.
The theory of transformational leadership is key in explaining Gore's attitudes and behaviours when dealing with the issues of public perception and skepticism. Northouse states that transformational leadership is the process whereby a person engages with others and creates a connection that rises the level of motivation and morality in both the leader and the followers. He goes on to suggest that the approach is concerned with emotions, values, ethics, standards, and long-term goals. Gore's leadership style encompasses all of these factors, further mirrored in a clip that expresses his own personal view of what leadership entails.
The leader of an organization has to take responsibility for constantly elevating the vision, rekindling a commitment to the vision. Secondly, the leader has to be responsible for constantly reinforcing the values of the organization. The leader, third, has to be responsible for keeping track of the ever-changing list of priority goals and the sequence in which they are supposed to be pursued.
As evidence, Gore personally believes that a leader should supply vision, values and goals, and has utilised this viewpoint to combat negative public perception, constantly working to raise awareness of climate change and transmit a positive message of power to motivate individuals towards a common purpose. This approach to leadership perfectly aligns with the characteristics of a transformational leader, which was first conceptualized by Burns, whose work primarily outlines the link between leadership and followership. Burns stated that transformational leadership is a process that changes and transforms people, and can operate on one of 2 influence levels, macro and micro. Gore's actions effectively sit within the macro level, as his reach and influence is on a global scale. Though this theory is leader-focused, reflected in Gore's pivotal role in precipitating change, it is simultaneously emphasized that leaders and followers are bound together. Gore shows this by stimulating and motivating his followers to make a change. Considering Gore's everlasting passion for his vision, it is apparent that his leadership style allows him to change not only himself, but also those he comes into contact with, managing to overcome issues by uplifting the morals of his followers.
This movement is in the tradition of every great moral movement that has advanced the cause of humankind. And every single one of them has met with resistance to the point where many of the advocates wondered, how long is this going to take? Martin Luther King famously, when someone asked how long is this going to take, he said, how long? Not long.
Gore's ability to inspire may be pinpointed by particular personality traits. In the 1970s, House established charisma as a powerful personality trait for effective leadership. The term charisma is often used to describe a leader who, by the force of their personal abilities, are capable of having profound and extraordinary effects on followers. It can be argued that Gore possessed charismatic charm and was therefore able to have a profound personal impact on his devoted followers. Conger and Kanungo state that charismatic leaders also appear to be expert in their areas of influence, and Gore's extensive knowledge of sustainable issues certainly meet this criteria. Furthermore, Weber stated that charisma involves a set of 5 components. When measured against these components, Gore appears to be a relatively charismatic leader. His high intelligence may allude him to being viewed as gifted, a clear global crisis is apparent, and Gore sets out goals in order to combat climate change. It may be argued that Gore's shortcomings surrounding the issues of being linked to transcendent powers or superhuman qualities. Whilst his followers may have perceived him as such, charisma is somewhat subjective. Therefore, Gore's skeptics may be less inclined to recognise these qualities, which could have ultimately militated against the effectiveness of his leadership. Friedland expressed the view that charismatic leaders must engage in exemplary acts that involve a personal risk or sacrifice, which in turn validate the trustworthiness of the leader. Gore has come under criticism for his lavish lifestyle. In an interview with CNN, it was mentioned that Gore has a large carbon footprint. In his defense, he said that he does not have a private jet and what carbon emissions come from his trips on Southwest Airlines are offset. He states that he lives in a carbon-free lifestyle to maximum extent possible. In an analysis by the National Center for Public Policy Research in 2017, it was found that Gore's Tennessee homes uses more electricity in 1 year than the average American family uses in 21 years. As well as this, Gore was criticized by the American political magazine known as the American Interest. The magazine argued that he cannot be a leading environmentalist who hopes to lead the general public into a long and difficult struggle for sacrifice and fundamental change if your own conduct is so inconsistent with the green gospel you profess. As a visible leader of the world's green movement, he should be practicing what he preaches to his followers. As well as this, according to the great man theory, most successful leaders are extroverts. Gore appears to be an introverted leader, which could affect his trustworthiness as a leader. In addition, introverts are prone to personal challenges such as self-doubt, which Al Gore has expressed during An Inconvenient Truth, where he described it as a personal crisis of faith. Furthermore, in an interview with Canadian magazine Maclean's, he spoke about having moments of despair, where he thought the problem was too big to be solved. If a global leader possesses self-doubt, it is unlikely that his followers will have confidence in him.
John C. Maxwell, one of the most vocal leadership theorists in contemporary academia, is quoted as saying that a great leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. Whilst a simplistic outlook, few can contest that Al Gore does not match this description. His ability to energize followers towards sustainable goals through a distinct transformational leadership style has been commended by seemingly endless politicians and journalists. However, there is undoubtedly one project that has accelerated his status and vision above all others: An Inconvenient Truth. The best-selling book turned iconic documentary grossed over $50 million, reaching audiences in the millions around the world, educating both politicians and the general public on a largely ignored issue. In fact, a survey conducted by Oxford University and the Nielsen Company in the following year identified that 89% of respondents felt it raised their awareness of global warming, while 66% said it changed their outlook on the topic. Gore's ability to distinguish film production as an ideal tool to promote his generation-defining message to the masses was clearly recognised. He won various Oscars and even received a Nobel Peace Prize. According to Bass, building on the prior works of Burns and House, there are 4 components that fit into Gore's style of transformational leadership, one of which is inspirational motivation, described as leaders which challenge followers with high standards, who communicate optimism about future goals and provide meaning for the task at hand. Gore's successes in recent years have largely built on this approach, producing updated versions of his research and even a sequel to Inconvenient Truth. Though most notably, He has played a vital role in attempting world leaders to speed up the conversion rate to renewable energy, campaigning for years to secure the historic Paris Climate Agreement. One specific situation in which Gore exhibited successful management was during this process when he identified India as a potential holdout on the agreement and attended a meeting with Piyush Goyal, the Minister of State for Energy and Power. He expressed serious discontent towards Gore's vision, claiming that the West forcing developing countries to avoid the use of fossil fuels was hypocritical. In addressing this, Gore displayed other components of transformational leadership. His inspirational speech to the Indian Prime Minister utilised the base concept of individual consideration, relying on Gore's distinct ability to encourage doubters by capturing their attention to deliver strong communication and impact influential decisions.
His failures have been noted by many, summarised by academic Walter Mead, who notes that it must be as perplexing to his many admirers as it is frustrating to himself that a man of Vice President Gore's many talents, great skills and strong beliefs is considered one of the most consistent losers in American politics. He goes on to state that Gore's Green Movement will go down as one of the greatest failures of civil society in all time. More than a decade after the initial release of An Inconvenient Truth, CO2 levels have risen by 5.5%, global land temperatures are increasing, and sea levels continue to rise. In addition, 10 years on from the film's release, failed predictions have come to light. Gore stated that warming oceans would fuel more frequent and intense Atlantic hurricanes. Yet despite this, statistics demonstrate that there has been a slight drop in the frequency of hurricanes in the last 10 years. Though some progress has been made, Gore's failure to inspire long-term change is widely considered to be his biggest downfall. Evidence suggests that there was certainly short-term excess following the release of An Inconvenient Truth. A study conducted by Jacobson found that within a 10-mile radius of a zip code where the film was shown, the purchase of voluntary carbon offsets increased by 50%. The study concluded that there was, however, little evidence to suggest that individuals who purchased an offset due to the film purchased them again a year later. These findings suggest that whilst the film motivated people to take immediate effect, it failed to sustain this motivation over a longer period of time. The combination of these findings and his noted failures over the past decade suggests that Gore's transformational style of leadership is not effective in maintaining long-term change. Bast and Ukul both highlighted that transformational leaders motivate followers to do more than expected by changing their very beliefs and values as opposed to simply gaining compliance. It may be argued that Gore's expectations of his followers were set too high, and therefore the goals outlined seemed unachievable. In view of this, appropriate recommendations should be drawn to highlight other methods that Gore could have used which may have resulted in more effective management. The path goal model is a theory that focuses on employee motivation in order to achieve specific goals and become a productive part of an organisation. The theory focuses on 4 leadership styles: directive, supportive, participative, and achievement-orientated. The basis of the theory states that by adapting different leadership styles, goals are able to be met by employees more effectively. The directive style, for example, characterises a leader who gives followers instructions about their task, including what is expected of them, how it is to be done, and the timeline for when it should be completed. Since Al Gore is the leader of a movement rather than a corporate organisation, employees are not a key focus of his leadership style. Alternatively, his followers play a key role in executing the goals and visions that he sets out. It may be recommended, however, that Gore could have required a path goal style of leadership in order to motivate his followers to achieve goals more effectively, in the same way that organisation leaders motivate their employees. Had Gore undertaken a directive approach, he could have given clear instructions on exactly how to personally make a difference in the context of climate change, given followers a set of instructions on what to do, and motivated them to take key actions to achieve goals. Utilising this leadership style as opposed to a transformational approach may have been the vital step in ensuring that long-term change took place.
Focusing on Al Gore's leadership style as a case study, we have been able to explore several theories from early trait and great man literature to contemporary styles such as transformational leadership. As evidenced with Al Gore, an individual's leadership style may change over the course of their career due to both personal and professional experiences. Overall, we have learned that not one leadership style suits one person or one organisation. Often a combination may be most effective.